A listener production.
Hi, I'm Bension Siebert, and thanks for joining me on The Briefing. Are you a nervous flyer? I never used to be until I got stuck in an elevator on the 15th floor of a hotel in Vietnam, and now the idea of falling out of the sky really does scare the shit out of me. We know statistically that flying is a lot safer than driving, but there's been an increase in the stream of news about safety risks in aviation recently. In January, a Boeing 737 MAX on a flight from Portland to Ontario in California had its emergency door plug blow off mid-flight. In February, pilots reported a Boeing 737 MAX having jammed flight controls as the plane landed in New Jersey. And just last week, the LATAM 787 Boeing Dreamliner, flying from Sydney to New Zealand, plunged mid-flight, injuring 50 people. If you've flown on a plane in your lifetime, there's a pretty good chance it was a Boeing. So after so many well-publicised safety incidents, should we still trust a Boeing plane? Or is this an overblown crisis in an industry otherwise renowned for its extremely high safety standards? To find out more, The Briefing's Simon Beaton spoke with Head of Aviation at Central Queensland University, Professor Doug Drury.
Doug, should I be worried about flying in a Boeing plane?
No, you should not. Right now, Boeing's in the news for a lot of reasons, but very few of the reasons are actually related to Boeing itself. The Alaska Air incident was a Boeing-related event because that was something that took place. It was a brand new airplane, and there was some maintenance oversight that did not happen, and some bolts were left off of the door plug.
So you're saying that quite a few of these issues, because there have been a number that we've seen recently, have been outside of Boeing's control?
Absolutely. You have to remember that a lot of these airplanes have been parked for about 2 years, and due to the COVID pandemic. And when they came back, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and manpower, people power, I should say, because we do have female maintenance folks as well, to bring these airplanes back up to speed. Just for one airplane, it might take a month or more to get it all flyable again. And airplanes do not like to sit. They're like horses. They need to run. They're like us. We have to get up and walk around occasionally. So an airplane needs to fly up to 40,000 feet and come back down again. It has what we call cycles. And that makes all the moving parts keep moving. So we've also lost a lot of quality maintenance and pilots during the pandemic who took packages and left. And they had all the seniority, all the knowledge. And so they kind of went with the money and said, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not coming back. So we now have a shortage of highly trained senior level mechanics and pilots.
But there has been some serious speculation that the quality control at Boeing did shift after the 2000s, alongside the recent news of the Boeing whistleblower who had raised safety concerns and tragically died from what appears to be self-inflicted injuries. Is this nothing to be concerned about or think about?
Oh, absolutely, Dan. We should. We should definitely pay attention to this. And it's been brought up more than once. And what happened here is that Boeing felt that they were the number one manufacturer and they had nobody to really give them any great concern. Till one day they looked in their rearview mirror and they saw Airbus coming up behind them pretty quickly. And with that, they decided that they needed to get more airplanes out there into the system. And they put pressure on the employees to produce more airplanes per month. And that requires a lot of effort. And to make that happen, according to the whistleblowers and the senior engineers, that Boeing was cutting corners on some areas. They left tools on the airplane in critical parts. The FAA found metal shavings where metal shavings should not be. So the oversight protection on the quality control was not there from Boeing. So when this group went up before Congress, at the U.S. Congress, and reported this, Congress immediately went to the FAA and said, what's going on here? And so the FAA went to Boeing and said, what's going on here? And so that became a big investigation. So they started looking a little bit closer and a little bit deeper into what was actually happening. And they found several items that required immediate attention, hence the grounding of the MAX 8, hence the grounding of the MAX 9s briefly. But the 777X is under heavy scrutiny as well. And so Boeing is getting very, very thorough, detailed inspection done by the regulators.
Okay, so it's kind of a combination. So there is something that's been happening there and that needs our attention, needs to be monitored. But these recent incidents aren't linked to that? Is that what you're saying?
No, they're not. Actually, none of the ones that recently happened, we had a span of 5 within 7 days. And
Wow.
Those were all related to United Airlines, unfortunately. And United's a great airline, don't get me wrong. But again, you've got older airplanes that require more maintenance, and they had been parked for quite a while. And these issues, which were not common, wheels don't fall off of airplanes, especially big airplanes, but this one did, and we had the landing gear collapse. And that was, I think that was potentially pilot error because they took the taxiway a little too fast and the aircraft skidded into the grass, and that caused the gear to collapse. All of these are being investigated by the regulators.
So then do we need more maintenance or perhaps older planes to be replaced with newer ones more frequently then? Is that part of the issue?
That is a great question, and it's a really huge problem. All of the airline chiefs are meeting in Belgium as we speak, and they are kind of ticked off at Boeing and Airbus, both because of the backlog. And they're all flying these older fleets, and they're having issues, especially United having issues that they needed to get new airplanes into the system. And Airbus has a backlog of 8,000, Boeing has a backlog of 6,000. So
Wow.
You put in an order for an airplane today, you won't get it until 2035.
All right. So given that backlog, should we be expecting more incidents in the future?
Possibly. I'm not going to say definitely, but all that really needs to happen is that the maintenance oversight needs to ramp up. The local regulators, CASA, the FAA, EASA, all of the Asian regulators will step up their inspections, and they will go in and they will look at the records, the maintenance records. They'll look at the training records. They'll look at everything to ensure that, we are safe to travel. And I have no trouble with flying on Boeing airplanes or Airbus airplanes for that matter. Flying is flying, and it's still the safest mode of transportation that we have available to us.
What about between airlines or even internationally? Are there different standards and expectations or safety between those?
Well, you have to look at this from a financial perspective as well. A lot of airlines that are rather large and are profitable, they have more maintenance personnel. So they have the ability to keep up with these older fleets. And that does cost that really eats into the bottom line. So it costs them a lot of money. Smaller airlines that do not have very deep pockets, they're not on very profitable routes. They have the maintenance programs, but they don't have the large numbers of maintenance teams that specifically are looking at older aircraft. You would need for an inspection to take place for one 777 or one A380 would be a tremendous amount of work to get that airplane up to flying standards after it had been parked for a while.
Okay, so when things go wrong on a plane, it is definitely going to make news. It's kind of like a shark attack. I think it just intrinsically taps into something very deep-seated, a fear within many people. Are these incidents as scary or as dangerous as what they sound like to an everyday person?
Aviation is still the safest mode of transportation there is. At the peak of every travel day, there are 16,000 airplanes in the air flying. We had 4 billion passengers flying pre-COVID every year, and by 2032, I believe or 2035, they want 8 billion. So we're going to double the number of passengers that are going to fly. So Boeing and Airbus have back orders that are 8,000 and 6,000. However, their future expectations are 40,000 plus new airplanes. So we will be flying on newer equipment eventually. I have no trouble flying today. I will have no trouble flying tomorrow. I realize that it looks bad right now, but promise me, there are a lot of eyeballs looking at this right now. CASA, the FAA, the European, the Asian regulators are all taking a deep look because they realize that this is a post-pandemic problem, a global post-pandemic problem. It is safe to fly.
The Briefing's Simon Beaton speaking with Professor Doug Drury there. That's all we have time for today, but we'll be back tomorrow in your feed from 6 a.m, where the team will be joined by environmentalist Bob Brown to talk us through the logging of Tasmania's native forests. And if you've enjoyed this episode, spread the word, hit follow and share the pod with your friends. We love it when you do. My name's Bension Siebert. See you soon.